What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. As always, today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record here at TST, and we have a new code, people. New code. They want to keep the codes moving for every year so they know who signs up in what year. You feel me? So go to offtherecord.com/TST or on the app, use code TST25, TST25 at Off the Record. And if you're going, hey, what's Off the Record? First off, welcome. Thanks for finding us. Secondly, they're a service that helps you fight tickets. Okay? No matter where you are in the country, they cover 97% of the U.S. Their partner attorneys will work to fight that ticket, keeping those points off your record for all of the reasons you don't want points on your driving record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TST25 on the Off the Record app, and we'll give you 10% off all legal services booked through Off the Record. I'm telling you guys, not a week goes by that someone doesn't hit me up in the DMs or send an email and say, man, Off the Record got me out of a big one, or Off the Record was super clutch. These are good people. They're working for you. So go do it, offtherecord.com/TST or code TST25 on the Off the Record app. Okay, on this episode of the program, we talk about some of the issues that the fire damage has caused to the car enthusiast culture in LA. We review the Lotus Emira with the 2-liter AMG motor and the dual clutch gearbox. I do a little bit on skiing. We answer some great questions, and then I give a ridiculous update to the Nissan POW electrical system, which has spiraled quite out of control, but the end is here. It's a good crew show today because Zach and I are happy to be with you people. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. The box of 6 Pilot fountain pens that I said if I finish this, I'll buy a fountain pen.
Oh, okay.
I've basically finished it. Except for red. But like, what would make me finish a red pen? You know how much red I'd have to write? I've been writing purple checks
you have
for
to grade so many papers.
Dude, I think for the second half of last year, every bill I paid, which is it's a business. I write I don't know, 40, 50 checks a month, was in a teal fountain pen for a quarter.
And some scanners only use black and blue, right? They only work. So, did your employees ever have to go, hey, I can't deposit this?
Oh, I'm not hand signing payroll checks, but you get paid this through the same system.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking but I pay my bills with checks.
Oh, right.
So, but they're not in stone paper, so that's what I was using them for.
Teal, that's funny. That's very third grade girl of you. I feel like back when everyone's like, oh, I got different colored pens, and that was
just a little fun in your Yeah, when you're writing a lawyer a bill for $7,500 that's billing you for phone calls, you're like, let's put a little fun spin into this. How about lilac?
Does your checkbook have dolphins on it?
I did that for the first Smoking Tire checkbook. I did that to fuck with people. I put clowns on it. Do you remember that? It had a fucking first Smoking Tire.
I do like when they give you the options, like, what graphic do you want? And I go,
at one point, I probably paid you some very small amount.
Probably, yeah.
A check with fucking clowns on it.
Why not? Why not have a little fun?
And then we were with Wells Fargo at the time, and then we went to Soundcheck Live, folks, and then we went from the clowns. I think I went to the stage. It was like a stagecoach scene because it was Wells Fargo, and then Wells Fargo stole a lot of people's money. And then I was like, okay, fuck Wells Fargo. Yeah. That was literally why I left. I
remember you did that very well.
You know how hard it is to protest, quit a bank? God, what a fucking bitch that was. Oh, worth it though.
I still have a Wells Fargo that I've had since I was 12. And I hate them, but I only have $400 in it because I don't like same reason. I moved it to someone else. But they make it so difficult to quit. I go, you know what? You get zero interest from me.
Yeah. You might as well just leave the account. As long as there's no annual fees, I'm not.
No, I keep it right above that.
Yeah.
I treat them as an ATM. That's all they are to me.
Not that there really aren't any good banks, but the one we have now, which doesn't deserve a plug, is better than the one that was openly stealing from people.
Yes, or creating accounts in their name, or again.
Holy shit! If you have no idea what I'm talking about, please go listen to the Dollop podcast about Wells Fargo. You will laugh while crying, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I've clearly had half of my large cold brew, haven't I?
Mm-hmm. It's good over there. It's funny, you texted me, and I biked here.
Yeah.
And I had gotten a coffee, but I can only carry one on the bike, so I didn't text you to ask if you wanted anything.
That's fair.
I would have crashed.
So you're saying I'm a more generous friend? No.
I offer to get you coffee over there all the time because I go there way too frequently.
You do offer to get me coffee all the time. Yeah. And their iced coffee is good, but goddamn, is it annoying to get good. Every drink takes forever there. So if there's like 3 people in front of you, you're there for 20 minutes.
You have to pre-order on the app. It changes your life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Long, fun, but we did a lot. But it was
Really?
Good. Yeah.
Why'd you do so much?
We just booked ourselves a lot of stuff with friends, but also I drove that Chevelle to Malibu and like going to Malibu. You do this frequently. You drive to Malibu in the morning, you get breakfast, you do a canyon drive, you come home. And it's a long adventure.
It's now become a lot because PCH is closed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was an hour and a half drive down from the old place on the 101 405.
Yeah.
So 90 minutes of stop and go in the Chevelle.
Yeah, I mean PCH, and we can talk about the Chevelle, and I want to because it looks batshit sitting downstairs. But I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. But like on top of all the other tragedies of the fires that we had, PCH still being closed is a real problem. Not just for us recreational people who want to access canyons and Malibu and things like that on our weekend drives, but like and surfers and stuff. But like everyone who lives like west of the fire, now if they want to get to the city, has to take like a 20-mile detour to the 101 freeway on the other side of the mountain, which then bottlenecks at where it meets the 405 to come back south. And if you're not from LA, I'm sorry about the localness of this, but like if you're from the Malibu area or what was Pacific Palisades and is now nothing, the PCH, which we drive recreationally, is like how you commute.
Right.
Like, and then there's traffic on it, like a lot, normally. So this being closed pushes in the craziest, shittiest detour imaginable. So Eric, who comes from up north, his commute length has doubled from an hour to 2 hours.
Yeah, during the week. And on the weekend, like, you know, there's a lot of tourism that goes to Malibu from the north, or they're heading to LA, to Anaheim or something, people out of town, but they'll like, why not take PCH?
Yeah.
So all of that also has to go around.
Yeah.
So it makes
so,
for a much longer day. So, you know, we left at 10 a.m. I think we got home at 3.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And we went to the old place, and there's a cool little tiny cars and coffee happening with a very eclectic mix, like Vanderhall Venice, motorcycles, Storado. It was there. And then some guy was driving. I don't even know what it was. The car was like a 1926 something. Had no badge on it. And he had a shirt that said Motion Picture Car Association.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, just got it running. And I looked down. It has no taillights. It has wires, I think, for taillights, but no taillights. No plate. He's like, we're just going to hope that we don't get pulled over. I mean, and this guy was like 26, so shout out to him for keeping that dream alive.
You'd have to do a lot wrong to get pulled over in a car that old.
Exactly.
You get a pass on basically anything when you're driving something like that.
You're definitely not a danger to other people, other than pedestrians. Yeah. So
there is a guy I've seen a bunch in Malibu whose like weekend surf wagon is like a Model A 5-door. Like what would have been not a chauffeur's car, but like the big Model A, and it's got a surf rack on top. And the guy's probably in his 50s, but I see him roll up to like Village Grocers, flip flops, the wetsuit hanging over the cracked open window. And this motherfucker just chuggas up with his coffee. I've seen him a couple of times.
Sounds like the Willy Wonka machine.
Yeah. And when you see people that have cars like that and they drive them like all the time, like regular cars, they can maneuver them like as easily as a regular car, pretty much. And so it's a cool thing to see. Yeah, it's fun. But it's a long fucking way there and back. We use the metaphor, it's like if you're looking at a clock face, like where we live would be at 6 o'clock on the clock. And where we like to go to chill in Malibu would be at 9 o'clock on the clock. And you used to be able to go from 6 to 9 like a clock does. And now you have to go counterclockwise to get to the 9 both ways. That's like, it's pretty much how that looks on a map.
Yeah. And I completely understand why PCH is closed to anyone who's not a resident like that was affected. They have things to deal with. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's just, this is the nature of things.
Yeah, no, I'm like, and what's funny is when I was up there last weekend, and I was talking to some people who I know who do live there. And, you know, obviously these guys are sort of ultra high end, you know, I saw them at one of the restaurants in Malibu and they were, you know, driving McLarens and fucking, you know,
drinking gold milkshakes, stuff like that.
Yeah, just like, you know, just like hooking up their blood bag of, you know,
the blood boy.
The blood boy is just
an 18-year-old that stands there and drinks.
You know, and it was all about like the, you know, the city mismanagement and the mayor and this and that. And it was, you know, I was sort of like, God, this seems like a hard problem to fix that it probably isn't going to be fixed, like, right, you know. And I understand because they're the ones who live where I was talking about the hellish commute into the city. That is what they have to deal with. And they were talking about like one of them lives on the west side of the closure and their kid goes to school on the east side of the closure. And so like it's either like 15 minutes or like 2 hours around. Yeah.
But they can go through the closure, right?
Well, they can, but they couldn't because they didn't live in the zone. Yeah, it was like but like it's just like disorganizational shit that comes with cleaning up after a major disaster.
Right, the challenge that comes with that.
Yeah. And at first it's like, all right, you know, safety, then it's like stability, then it's like, you know.
The hierarchy of needs.
Someone's kid getting through the zone to school like is certainly important, but like it's probably like 12th on the list, not, you know, first.
Yeah.
Sorry, we just got into like little local politics there, but like that's what's happening when you're a car enthusiast in this area this spring. The fires, like, of course, way less important than people's homes and livelihoods and all that shit. But you were affected and massively inconvenienced this as a car enthusiast.
I mean, I don't like doing that very often. You do it probably once a month, I'd say. You do the Malibu morning.
I probably do it once a month. And I very much enjoy it. Yeah.
And that's when it's running normal time. And to me, I'm still just like, it's just a long afternoon in the morning.
Yeah.
So I
go early as fuck.
You go very early.
And that does help.
But I went to Misha Mansour's house the night before to watch F1 because the race was at 9 p.m., which is a fairly normal time for F1.
Did you have a headache from the altitude of walking up to his house?
Oh, is the driveway?
Misha's house is awesome, and it's like fucking heavy vertical.
We have 3 floors, and it's a lot of
3 floors and a real steep driveway up to his house. I was like wheezing like crazy, and then like for his birthday, it was on the roof. Yeah. So it's like, I got up there, I'm like. And all the cardio, is it just me? Like all the cardio I do, which is a lot, and you exercise a lot too. 4 or 5 flights of stairs. I'm a wheezy pile of shit.
That's why people do Stairmaster. I think it's hard.
Yeah, sure. It's crazy.
I don't know. I took breaks though when I went to his house. I'd stop at the main floor and look around. That's my trick. Is I'm actually resting.
What's new on this floor?
Yeah, my car's not great. I'm just resting.
He got a new cat.
I know.
Is it the cutest?
Yeah, it's tiny. It's like the size of this water bottle, and it weighs half as much.
Hairless kittens.
Yeah, well, they have hair, not fur, I think. So they're.
Is it not the same as the other one?
It is the same as the other one, but they both have hair. But they're
not they're like Sphinx kittens.
They're not skin. They have hair.
They do?
Yes. They don't have fur. They have hair, which is why they are hypoallergenic and they don't shed.
But I met it when it was a kitten and it had no hair. The hair grew later?
It had hair. I think it was hard to tell.
What?
I promise you.
Did we see the same cat?
Yeah, because I saw it again.
I'm like, I know cats pretty well.
I know.
Like, almost as well as I know cars. I know cats.
It feels like skin. It's very strange. And you see all the bones and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not fluffy like a kitten. So it looks like if you cut your cat's hair to like half a mil. That's why.
Yeah, maybe it was even wispier because it was real. It was when we saw it at his birthday. They had they'd had it for like a week.
Right. The new cat looks exactly like that. It's like a time warp.
Yeah.
We saw the same cat twice. That's what I feel like. Yeah, it's the same size.
I love Misha and his hypoallergenic cats.
Yeah, it was fun over there. But
Yeah.
we stayed till 1 because, F1 ended at midnight. It was so funny. I mean, I know you don't watch F1, so I'll keep it short. But I'm like, oh, it's Australia. There's no rain ever in Australia. There's no delays. This will be a race. This race will be over in 2 hours. Lap 1, heavy rain, crashes, full course yellow.
Oh, wow.
There
All
were
right.
multiple full course yellows and crashes because it rained a deluge.
Well, at least there were things to watch.
There were definitely things to watch.
As long as nobody got hurt, at least there were hopefully things to watch.
No one got hurt. Some rookies went out on formation lap. Embarrassing, but it happens. Fernando Alonso crashed in the rain. Rare. So did Sainz, but I think that's a car problem with Williams because he won there last year and he kind of knows what he's doing.
Probably.
So there was a lot to see. And,
He turned left,
and the racing
but it
got
went
really
right.
good
Weird.
in the last 10 laps. Yeah,
At 1 in the morning.
pretty much.
Yeah, cool. Sorry I didn't watch F1, but that
Doesn't matter.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did.
And you had a cat to watch it with, and it didn't make you sneeze.
It did not. They don't make me sneeze anyway, but
Shit. Well, that's fucking a weekend. Oh, do you want to talk about the Chevelle?
we can talk a little bit about it. I'm sending them some questions because there are some things I want to ask about
All right, well,
before
then
I
let's
report
wait.
on it.
We got other things. We could back it up and talk
See
about
that?
the Emira.
We need to talk about the Emira. We never did.
Guys, got to take a quick break because today support comes from Delete Me. They're making it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everybody vulnerable. You put your data out there. It's not your fault. It's really not. You bought a thing online. You wanted that Rainbow Bright doll off of eBay. You wanted a car somewhere. You wanted a ticket to a concert. And then what do? They turn around, they sell your data, and now you're getting spam, you're getting all kinds of garbage phone calls and texts, and now you need to get rid of that information. Take back your data. So Delete Me, it's a service, right? You sign up. You give them all the information that you want taken off of these data broker websites, and then they go to work. You don't hear from them for a little bit. They come back and they go, I found these hundreds or possibly thousands of instances of your information on these sites. Here's what we've deleted automatically. Here's ones you need to approve for us to delete. And then these ones we can't do, but you can fill out this form and have it done yourself. And then every month they keep working for you, sending you more reports and keeping all these new instances of your data off of these websites. It's awesome. And if you are tired of the spam, you're tired of the calls and texts, you're tired of the idea that your privacy isn't private, you want Delete Me. And we can give you 20% off of your Delete Me plan. When you go to joindeleteme.com/tire and then use promo code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire and then use promo code TIRE at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/tire and enter code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire, code TIRE. And thank you to Delete Me for sponsoring today's episode. Also brought to you today from Factor, loving the Factor. If your problem is time, energy, or just really any reason for not eating healthy, gourmet, nutritious meals this year, right? Factor is your solution. They've got dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2-minute meals so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for an active, busy lifestyle. They've got the keto meals. They've got the Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, the chef selections. All this stuff is delicious. They've sent us so much food. We've tried everything from pasta dishes to protein and veggies to breakfast to smoothies, grab and go snacks, everything. You can refresh your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. My problem is I don't schedule time in my day for eating. And then when I finally get time to eat, I'm actually too hungry, and then I make bad decisions. I eat whatever's around. It may not be healthy. I eat whatever I can get quickest, may not be healthy. I don't want to cook. Cooking's the healthiest option, etc., etc. Factor, when it's here, I can heat it up quick, 2 minutes in the microwave, and then I'm having a healthy snack. I'm back on my game, and you can too. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's episode. And now let's get back to it. Yeah. The Emira, the Lotus Emira, AMG. What's the official name? Does it have AMG in the name? Is it Emira AMG? I put on Instagram 2.0 AMG so people would know that it was an AMG motor, but I forget how it's marketed. Point is, that's what it is. It's the Emira. It's got the dual clutch. We reviewed it 2 summers ago in England on track, but they finally got the cars in the U.S. and asked if we wanted to try one on the street for a little while. And they said there were some gearbox updates because originally Mercedes wouldn't allow Lotus to make any tuning changes in the transmission, and that now they had made those changes.
So it seems like it's called the Lotus Emira 2.0.
Okay. So I added AMG editorially there. It's just 2.0. If you drove the old car and new car immediately back to back in the same conditions, maybe you could feel the changes to the gearbox 2 years apart. You cannot.
Right. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Having said that, it does some things actually really well. I took it up to the canyons. Last week I did the hideous traffic-filled loop. Zach had it for half a week, and then I had it for half a week. We both drove it in the city, and we can talk about it together in the city. And then I took it in the canyons, and I first hated it in the city.
Really? Okay. Well,
yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, hate is a strong word, but I think from 0 to 5 and 5 to 0 miles an hour, it's bad. It's genuinely bad. Like the way that it engages power from nothing to like going, and the way that it comes to a stop in that very jerky fashion.
Agree with. The 5 to 0 is a weird issue.
Yeah,
we'll get more specific.
It is not good.
Yeah,
because fundamentally, like this powertrain it's a hot hatch powertrain. Like that's what it is. And so when you put it in luxury cars, and this is a luxury car, even though it's a lightweight sports car, it's extremely unrefined. It's vibraty. And same in the SL, the SL43.
I do think it's better in this because the engine is mounted laterally.
Yeah,
right?
transverse.
Transverse. So the vibrations are going forward aft, and you don't know. I truly didn't. It didn't bother me nearly as much. But in that SL, the car shook.
Yeah,
I was like, why am I in an R5 rally car right now?
Yeah, the SL, it's really, really bad, especially because that's a GT car.
That's a GT luxury car. I don't want that. It shouldn't be present.
Yeah.
In this, I do want a little bit of pomp and circumstance or something like that.
Pomp and circumstance, I like, comes from the intakes outside of the window, where you have every fucking turbo noise possible, and it's actually fabulous.
Great.
Yeah. It's the sounds, at low throttle creep through traffic, it sounds like an airliner taxiing, where it's like, where it's like that. And then you get your, when you're going through a tight canyon and you're on and off and on and off, it's like a super tuner car, just, all that goodness. And then there's just a constant good surge of sound when you're on the throttle. It's very nice.
It's everything we liked about how the MC20 sounded, the normal one. And that is diminished a lot in the GT2 Stradale, unfortunately. So this is how mid-engine turbo cars should sound.
Yeah,
great.
It's it never sounds bad. Like the GT4 RS has like the best intake sound ever, asterisk as long as it's not in this very narrow window of RPM that you have to go through every time you drive the car. It's good all the time, which is really nice. But if you drive around in normal mode, it's like boggy and it upshifts really low. Like this engine needs to be above 2,500 RPM. If it's above 2,500 RPM, which is not that much, it's smooth. Below that, it's rough as shit. And the normal mode that it's default startup, and you presumably would use when just puttering around in traffic, that mode sucks. So you have to put it in sport.
The auto is a little. I mean, the auto is slow in manual or in automatic. I hate the shifter, and it's not that I hate the shape of it. I don't care. The shape is like whatever. It looks nice. The responsiveness, though, is so delayed. Like when you're parking, pull up next to the cars. I parallel parked this a number of times. Put it in reverse. I had to hit it like twice.
Dude,
you'd wait a lot.
Scroll down on my Instagram review to the not so good. Here's what I wrote. Okay. 3-pointers are a disaster because of the world's most sadistic fake shift lever setup. You must double tug, but not too fast, fore or aft to engage drive or reverse, and then have to move the lever side to side to shift manually. This is the most insane shifter setup
in
a
old
sports
Tiptronic,
car.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a sports car. Side to shift manually? How did that pass anything at Lotus?
Well, I mean, they think you're going to lose the paddles.
But still, you have an option to use the lever. It's software. It's not mechanical. There's no reason. Who goes, okay, I got it, guys.
Right. Why not just go forward and backwards?
Instead of making drive 1 click to the left and reverse 1 click to the right, which would be fine, and plus to downshift and to minus towards you to upshift, like, I don't know, fucking sports cars. They put reverse forward and you have to hit it twice, but not too fast. Don't engage. You got to dunk, dunk. And then to go drive, you tug twice.
Because it goes neutral, then drive. But if you pull it too quickly, when it's not ready, it does nothing, which is really annoying.
Dude, you look like such a loser trying to make a 3-point turn in this car.
Oh, you're like, I went to neutral. Yeah, that was very dumb. What I will say in the city is, within literally 10 feet, I turned out of the driveway here, and your driveway is smooth, and the road right outside here is one of the worst in the nearby half-mile area.
They're repaving from the other end down towards here, and they're about a half a mile away.
Yeah, here it looks like a turtle shell. I mean, it is cracked as hell. And we're using my car as a baseline, which is stiff, like it shakes around. But this thing just floated over that in a way that few press cars we've had ride that nice. I mean, that is truly the Lotus magic, because it's still agile and fun in the canyons, but it's
non-adjustable.
Right, it's non-adjustable. It's a fixed suspension. It's just they just did a good job.
Yeah. So the ride and in the canyons, I was going to get there. When I went up the mountain, and I went in Malibu, which is a tighter canyon, a tighter and a bumpier canyon. It's where we typically would test hatchbacks and Miatas. And if you're testing supercars and stuff, you need to be up in the big mountain, which is more open sweepers. This is the small mountain. This car was fucking spectacular on the small mountain. It more resembles a British B road, but with some elevation. The car takes bumps really well. It maintains a real consistency through corners. You know, it was a nice day. I had the windows down, just like like fucking when you're really in the pedal, just like so many fucking noises that are just great, you know, coming out of the car. It's not actually that loud from like out, like the noise is really directed kind of inward at you, which is cool.
Well, there's a lot more intake noise that you hear than exhaust noise.
Yeah. And at that speed, you shift 1,000 RPM before redlined. You're really shifting in a torque band. You know, it's really 3 to 6 is where you're going. But it's third, fourth gear with this DCT. The paddles themselves suck, and there's a delay between paddle to gearbox, which sucks. They could go a long way by making the paddles clickier. They feel like cheap video game paddles, and there's not a, you know, for a company that does focus on tactile input a lot, there should be some better click for those paddles, especially considering the lever option sucks too. But the steering ratio is great. The brake pedal is really nice. When you're going, the brake pedal works really well.
Yeah.
On the Canyon, it made total sense. But then I came to a stop, and the last bit was the jerk.
There's this weird thing where you're slowing down from any speed, but once you get to like 7 miles an hour, and you go, okay, it's time to stop the car. And usually, like, you apply a slightly higher amount of brake pressure to stop that car before you get to the stop line or whatever. Yeah. It suddenly, you move the pedal 1 millimeter, and it seems to move the brake caliper 4 millimeters, and it jerks forward.
Right.
And, like, I couldn't figure out how to do it well, and I haven't driven a car that has that kind of brake pressure change. It's weird.
And then to make matters worse, even though it's a DCT, it's got a pretty aggressive idle creep. So when you lift off the brake, it engages, creeps forward. Now you've got to hit the brake again. So in traffic, you're doing that shit all the time. I had to apologize to Hannah 4 or 5 times on a drive to dinner. She's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I was like, "I swear to God, it's the car." She's like, "That isn't possible. You do this for a living. This is a brand new car." It's like, "I swear this is the car."
Shout out to the podcast called It's Not the Car. Perfect. So perfect.
And then, this drives me insane.
Yeah.
We've got a photo up on my Instagram that it shows the trunk in the back, which is fine. It then has a full plastic engine cover because presumably this engine doesn't look very good. It wasn't designed to be displayed, and that's fine. There's only one part of this engine you can see from the outside with this clear engine cover closed, and it's that cap, which I believe is for coolant overflow, and it's the shitty AutoZone plastic with a little pop-on rubber. It's the only part of the engine you can see. You've covered the rest of it.
Right, why not go with a fake aluminum one or something?
For fucking $3, it would cost to have one that looks nice. It's like looking at the top of a bottle of toilet cleaner. It's crazy.
Well, what bothered me that I noticed when I drove this car, because we drove it in similar conditions, is that if there's water on the trunk lid and you open the trunk lid, the water falls onto the engine cover, which you can see in this photo. But let me assure anyone who's listening, there are 15 to 20 drops of water splattered about the engine cover. So if you have something in your trunk,
it falls on the engine cover, which then becomes an ice luge into the trunk.
I mean, I think it gets caught in the seal around the trunk. I don't know if water would go in there necessarily, but if it splatters on there, it's just something like. You just look at that and you go, the water is falling on the engine. Maybe that's why the engine cover's there. Yeah. So it's funny.
I drove it in the rain. It was really nice. It's actually a great car in the rain, as all British cars.
It's a really good car, but it just reinforces that for me, the one to get is the manual. Now, if you could get the manual with the 2-liter, that might be a fun discussion.
Maybe because
it sounds awesome, and you could probably tune it and get a lot more power out of it than you can the supercharged one. But the auto is still so bad. I don't know what they changed, but we can't tell. It still doesn't do the things we wanted it to do. And it's not just that it's a little slow on these downshifts and upshifts. It's really noticeable slow.
In the canyons, shifting manually, I was able to adjust my driving to it, which ideally you shouldn't have to do. But once I learned, okay, I'm looking ahead and I tug the paddle a half a second before I really want the gear, then it became fine. As a 7/10 car, it's really nice. If your driving routine is moving, you're not sitting in traffic a lot. The thought process, I get the automatic so I could daily drive it versus the manual. No, you'd rather have a manual with a very light clutch than a shitty automatic. If your car is moving, the auto's not bad. If you're coming to a stop a lot, it sucks. And to compare with the V6, guys, support for the Smoking Tire comes from the podcast Drive with Jim Farley. You know Jim Farley. He's the CEO of Ford. Not only that, this guy has a GT40 and a Cobra and all kinds of amazing vintage American metal that he races wheel to wheel at places like Goodwood. He's a boss, and you got to check out this show. It's where Jim talks to some of his favorite people about what they drive and what drives them to succeed. They just started season 3 with some sick new guests, including Vicky Butler Henderson, the British racing driver and fifth gear personality, Randy Nonnenberg from Bring a Trailer, and T-Pain, the musician turned drifter. The guy's got skills, actually. I listened to it the other day. It is great. Jim is a great interviewer. He's insightful, and it's interesting hearing these folks open up to him. I really am about it. I support Jim's venture here. To listen to Drive with Jim Farley, just search Drive with Jim Farley in any podcast app. That's Drive with Jim Farley, and thank you for supporting this episode, which is, the one thing that continues to stand out to me about the V6 is what a smooth engine it is. It doesn't vibrate
at
all. So this thing vibrates a lot. So it's like it's a much more exotic and refined experience with the V6, just all over the place.
Yeah, I agree. And you still get really cool sounds. You get supercharger whine. You get into it. You can hear the little squeak of the blower opening when you downshift it. And that engine had its own issues of like that kind of delayed rev response when you would go to downshift. Remember that? It would vary a little bit, and the shifter moves. But I think it is the lesser of two evils. And the auto, to me, shifts at a speed that feels like I am shifting a manual myself.
Yeah.
That's kind of the time it takes to downshift using the paddles. And when your competition is Cayman or Boxster.
Yeah.
Because that's literally the only competition you have in this, right, at this price point with this engine configuration. I go, well, if I want a PDK experience, I need it to be like PDK. So I'm going to get a manual because I love this car and it does so many. I think it's that it rides at like a 9 out of 10 and it handles like a 9 out of 10. But then the transmission, like you said, is a 7 out of 10, and I don't want that offset.
I don't either. I think if you have two functional legs, you should get the V6 with the stick, because it's just better, a more cohesive package that simultaneously feels more exotic, and more refined, and more powerful. It feels all of those things, and the clutch is so light that even if you sat in traffic all the time, it's not like you'd be beating the shit out of your clutch foot. Like, that's a really, really, really light clutch. It's not a hard thing. And if you compare a Cayman or a Boxster manual gearbox to a Lotus manual gearbox, they're very closely spec'd, you know. I would totally understand anyone who goes, you know, I thought about a Cayman, but this seems a little more interesting and different, and, you know, I like what it's offering. And I go, yeah, 100, absolutely. But if you go paddles for paddles, Lotus loses, unfortunately. But it makes fucking cool tuner car noises, doesn't it?
And it looks spectacular.
Yeah.
It looks like an expensive supercar. And it's comfortable. The seat
I mean, if you park
great.
one next to a McLaren Artura, most people wouldn't go, yes, the Artura is $350,000 and this car is $100. One of these is not 3.5 times more exotic than the other one.
Related idea. I wonder if you took the badges off this and you ask people, what do you think that is? They might say it's a McLaren. And related note is that I've seen photos of people are rebadging their Teslas with other badges, and it works really well. And it kind of highlighted to me how much of the identification of a car, because they're all very similar shape now, like Mazda badge works really well. And the shape of the Mazda M, you know, the whale tail one. When you put that on a Model X or like a 3Y, it kind of matches the shape of the car.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, sure. It totally works.
That's funny. You know, I mean, you look at what Doug Tabbitt and Arnie were doing, you know, when they turned an Audi S8 into, it looked like a Taurus, a police car.
Oh, yeah.
You know, all you have to do is change a couple things and you can, and they also, I think, did a Mercedes, I think it was an E63 that they made look like an Accord. And there's a whole thing. Yeah, look at that. That really does look like a Mazda.
This is a Model S with a Mazda badge.
Yeah, it fucking works.
It's like, hey, nice Mazda 6.
It does actually work. Yeah, there was the whole. Did you remember that thing that someone did a few years ago? They put every mid-size sedan vertically and then blocked off the nose and the rear fascia and asked you to identify which was which. It was basically a possible task. Yeah. It's very funny, though, how that people are rebadging their Teslas. It's not as funny as if they were selling them, which is what they should be doing. At this point, there's look at that. At this point, there's no doubt that he's a Nazi. He's an act like he's and so like it's time to sell your car, guys.
He's retweeting some very concerning tweets. Like I've had this discussion with a friend, and he's like, this was a week ago. I was having this discussion, and 3 days ago, more evidence showed up. Where it's like he's retweeting this thing, and I sent that. I was like, "Look at this shit, dude! It's really weird."
Here's what I hate. There's the sticker that's showing up all over the. I bought it before we knew he was crazy.
Yeah.
On like a 2022 model car, eat shit, eat shit. We have been saying this guy was a fucking dickbag for like 9 years.
Well, it's definitely escalated, I'd say, in the last 12 months.
If you're rolling a 2014 and you say, I bought this before I knew, okay, You can have that. We didn't know. But he started selling fake autonomy in 2016.
Oh, yeah. But I think that's different than the
Oh, he wasn't a
recent
Nazi
social
until a little
developments.
later.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. That's pandemic era was Nazi, but bad guy before that. Now there's no more excuse.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you put if you're rolling a 22, if your shit has a yoke, you can't put that fucking sticker on.
Yeah, and if it's,
You
if it's
bought it.
2024,
Yeah.
2025.
You bought the fucking bit. Did you see the story, the video the guy made where FSD crashed into a Wile E. Coyote style
but
thing?
I also saw a lot of responses. Like the drive was getting lit up on Instagram saying that the video showed that Mark Rober, we're talking about Mark Rober, who does amazing videos of all kinds of like, I don't know, Rube Goldberg machines and experiments and stuff. And so he made a wall, like a foam wall across a road and painted like Wile E. Coyote to see if this autopilot would stop, and it didn't. People are saying in the comments that he didn't have FSD activated, and you could see it on the dashboard. I have not investigated it further, and half these comments are people
what
that
they're
have
saying,
private pages, so I don't know if that's just bots or not.
The response is that he used autopilot and not FSD, and their capabilities to recognize a real wall versus something painted like a wall are different, even though they're using the same cameras and sensors.
Correct, which I completely agree. Like, I am a supporter of LiDAR is better than camera.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that the radar LiDAR system would detect that. So people, I think,
to be clear, I support a combined sensor suite.
Yeah. I want
not
all the
LiDAR
sensors.
is better. Camera plus LiDAR plus radar.
Yeah, but I don't think
possibly
just
plus
cameras
acoustic.
is enough.
No.
For sure. I mean, like, look what Waymo has. Everything. Yeah. It's ugly, but it fucking works.
Yeah.
People's complaint, and we'll see if it's valid or not, is that the Tesla was not using autopilot nor FSD. They were just trying to test the emergency braking detection, and it worked on like a mannequin that they put out in front of the road, but it did not work for the wall, whereas the LiDAR car worked on the wall. There's also people accusing the video being paid for by the LiDAR company. I don't know if that's true. I'm basically just saying what I read this morning.
Sure, yeah.
And I agree
it's
with
it's not like a Dan O'Dowd project. This is a dude. This is just a guy.
Right. And I don't know if it was paid for or if that's just people, Tesla bots accusing. But either way, I would be shocked if FSD or autopilot would work on this wall. This is speculative, I admit, but it's because it's a camera, and if the wall's painted well enough, the camera's using its method and data, which is to look for roads, it stands to reason that it would just drive through that. Yeah. And that's why, I'm a proponent of radar-LiDAR combination because it works through fog, which we know the cameras don't. So you're more likely to encounter fog than a fake wall. Yeah. But
but it does the fake wall thing, and presuming the video is trustworthy and made in good faith. Okay, I admittedly I didn't read the comments on fucking Reddit or anywhere else, but presumably if the video is made in good faith, and I'll assume from there, the fake wall thing just illustrates that that the human brain is so much better at interpreting the inputs here than a camera is, especially a camera without a brain-powered CPU, a human brain-powered CPU behind it. And therefore, a camera alone should not be totally trusted to do the job. Yeah. And therefore, if you're going to sell something and promise that this vehicle will drive itself based on evidence that this system is better, and it continues to show that actually it's not, and that the other way actually does at current today 2025 March level settings have like the total suites are better as of today. Tesla is still fucking full throttle on this camera only thing, I think, because he's just so committed he can't be seen as being wrong.
I agree with that. And I think this wall, the painted wall thing reminds me of that case in Florida where a semi-truck trailer was like pulling across the road, and the car that was on autopilot crashed into it. Like it didn't see this giant, broad, white thing across the road, and that wasn't painted to look like the road. So either it was looking under the semi-truck or whatever, but again, speculation, but it seems like a radar system would detect this giant thing and probably slow down.
I have yet, and I'm interested, you pulled up an article that says that this guy tests cameras versus LiDAR and gets it wrong, and I'm open to hearing expert arguments, but I have yet to see any evidence that going camera only produces a safer vehicle than going multi-sensor.
Totally agree.
No, nobody has, I mean, no argument. The only arguments ever presented are, again, from a fucking proven liar like Elon Musk and from people who are talking about it being cheaper. That's it. It's just cheaper.
And the only reason I'm presenting this
safer.
Is because what people are saying is that his methodology was not what he was advertising.
So what does this say?
I haven't read this.
It's just we found a
this
headline?
on Forbes. This just says that YouTuber Mark Rober tests the cameras versus LiDAR and gets it wrong. But I've not read this article. I'm saying that people seem more irritated that the methodology was not what was said on the video title. If he's like, LiDAR beats FSD, and they're saying, well, you weren't using FSD. You were using emergency accident braking. It's like, okay, sure. But does the system do both FSD and emergency braking use cameras? If so, then that their complaint doesn't disprove the ineffectiveness of full self-driving, in my opinion.
Well, but the other car with the LiDAR was also using the emergency braking, right? It's not like it was using some type of self-driving system.
I think I need to watch the video.
Yeah, I mean, if they were both using the same setting, then I don't see the problem.
Ultimately, one stopped for the wall and one didn't stop for the wall.
Yeah.
So we'll look into it more. More to live in.
Yeah, I don't want to like share fake news, but I mean, it's also other. I don't want to say it backs up a preconceived notion. It does. It backs up what other experts, like actual experts, like fucking Koopman, have been saying about camera-only systems for a very long time. I don't personally think they're up to the task unless they're incredibly limited in scope, like Super Cruise and Blue Cruise are, where they're only allowed in certain places, where there wouldn't be a fake wall, maybe. Yeah,
they should just do it again with FSD, and that would be the thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Here's the raw footage of my Tesla going through the wall. Okay.
This is very interesting, though. We've talked about this before. So just read Mark's. The
highlighted part or the tweet?
Read the highlighted part.
The highlighted part says, update, online critics have pointed out a number of concerning inconsistencies in the video and a, quote, raw clip provided by Rober. Further, it seems that the appearance of the cartoon pattern in the brick wallpaper before he hits it indicates it was hit before and reconstructed for the take which was shown. Okay, so then here's the video embedded. Here's the raw footage of my Tesla going through the wall. Not sure why it disengages 17 frames before hitting the wall, but my feet weren't touching the brake or gas.
Now, that's something that we've talked about a lot on this, and I think NHTSA has been investigating, is that Tesla will often report that when there's an accident, autopilot was not engaged.
Right.
But they have seen the speculation from NHTSA and other people is that right before it's about to crash and knows it deactivates autopilot so that you can't blame autopilot. Right?
I have read that from a variety of places and accusations, and some of them, including Ed Niedermeyer, are very thoroughly backed up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
In order to place blame on any accident to create a sort of catch-22, either the driver's driving or the driver took over, whatever. So at the point of impact, it was disengaged. So, I mean, look, the company has a habit of doing really shady shit, in order to falsely inflate the capability of this system on which the entire value of their fucking company is based. They're selling old-ass cars and getting smoked by both the Chinese and other legacy fucking automakers.
Right.
The cars aren't that good, and the Cybertruck's a fucking flop. This is what they have.
Continuing the stock trade, even with this 40% haircut it's gotten in the last month, it still trades at this PE ratio that, it's like every other car company combined. It would equal that stock price. So, and it's all based on this magical technology that,
and now people are fucking ashamed to be seen with their cars badged as Teslas.
Yeah, it's going well.
Yeah. It's good. I really like giving people in Cybertrucks thumbs down. I find that thumbs down is a really good way to indicate that how you feel without it being aggressive.
It's not as aggressive as a middle finger.
Oh I'm not middle fingering somebody just for existing with a Cybertruck, but a thumbs down, 100%, especially if it's like modified in any way. Because then they're really in.
The gold-plated one, I think Daily Show did a story. There was some guy who's trying to sell his gold-wrapped Cybertruck because of the negative response that's been happening, and he's like, I can't sell it. And Daily Show's like, I mean, yeah, come on, like this is a hard thing to sell anyway. How many people want a gold one?
The negative, because of the response. Like, this is a person who went out and bought a fucking fuck you got mine vehicle. And then made it an even more attention-seeking color.
But I don't think everyone looks at it as a "fuck you got mine" vehicle. I think plenty of people go, "Oh, it's the cool new thing. It looks like a truck from the '80s future sci-fi movie." Sure.
Nah, you couldn't have you had to take delivery of that vehicle in 2024. By the time you took delivery, you knew what that thing stood for.
I don't think so. I think there are some people that just think it looks cool and they thought it was fast.
I'm not buying it.
All right.
Yeah, not buying it. Or you at least knew it was a total shit box.
I also don't. People don't drive as many cars as we do, and if they watched, dude, so many of the early reviews were like, "This is amazing," and one of the best ones that went viral was the comparison this woman did against this woman's like cyber mama or whatever on Instagram, and she's like, "Look, it has a place for my purse." And then you cut to the woman with her minivan, and she's like, "This also does."
Oh yeah.
And the Cybertruck chick was like, "Look, it has a glove box." And she came back later and was like, "I was being sarcastic. That was not disclosed in your video."
Yeah.
So it was trying to show that the Cybertruck has invented these ideas, which it definitely had not.
Well,
So I think a lot of people bought them because they were like, "Wow, all these videos say it's amazing." And then it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a flash in the pan. This was a hit single.
Yeah. Elon Musk inventing things that were already invented since fucking 2009.
Right.
Just worse.
Right.
It's worse. I was listening to the Behind the Bastards Oprah today, the 6-parter. Because Oprah, while not the most bastardy person out there, is the only person to have spawned 3 other people that got multi-part bastard episodes.
The Jerry Springer doc was really fascinating.
This would be Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, and John of God, who had got their own Behind the Bastards, and were all introduced by Oprah.
John of who?
John of God was a Brazilian faith healer that Oprah promoted, and he raped like 600 women. Yeah.
I thought the bad part was that he fake healed people.
No, that was the good part. The fake healing was the good part of John of God.
God, that's
the raping.
Which is worse.
The raping was the bad part. Yep.
I mean,
Thanks,
I'm not
Oprah.
trying to diminish either one. I'm like, well, one of them you take people away from real medicine and they might die, and the other one is like the most egregious thing you can do to a human.
Up there.
Because they keep living and live with the trauma.
Yeah. Thanks, Oprah. So anyway, if you want 6 hours of great fucking radio. But anyway, one of the guests on the show who was incredibly astute was just said like today, it's like the last fucking. He's like I live in L.A. and he's like these fucking people would rather fucking invent self-driving cars than just do something that was invented in the 1800s and works, like build a goddamn subway.
Or build a library or something. People were talking about Carnegie Mellon. They're like, yeah, I mean, these people were billionaires back in the early 1900s, but what did they do with their money? They built universities and libraries.
Yeah. Does that make them better? No. Does that make them better?
I think so, because at least they left something that can be used for good in education instead of like buying Twitter and manufacturing controversy that just
yes, that's better. But yeah. But I mean, the Getty's bought newspapers though. That's bad.
That's bad, but they have a museum also. So it doesn't offset entirely, but it's something. Because
like Oprah did a couple good things.
Let's say publicized wealthy people right now.
Oh,
Seems like they've only done very selfish things. Put
a
clock in a mountain and avoid $600 million in taxes at the same time.
Right.
When Bezos University opens, maybe I'll change my channel.
I can't wait to go to Amazon U.
It's a quick additional tangent related to your Oprah viewing. So my favorite channel show I watch is Dropout TV, which is what spun off from college TV. And it's ran and owned by Sam Reich, who is Robert Reich's son.
Okay.
Robert Reich, famous economist, amazing follow online.
Yeah, drives a Mini.
Drives a Mini. And so Brennan Lee Mulligan is one of their longest employees, very funny person, but they often do this show where they give him improv prompts, and they basically set Brennan up to rant about billionaires. And he always goes off in the funniest way about Bezos and Elon and, Trump and whoever. And last week they did a prompt where they were like, Brennan, we always love your takedown of billionaires. Please address the billionaires Rihanna, Oprah, and what's her fucking name? Beyonce. So it's like, because it's always rich white dudes who are unmaking the world. And the awkward improv that followed as he tried to like literally get himself out of this was hilarious.
That is.
He probably didn't know about the faith healing.
I don't know if, Oprah is, I mean, look, there was enough for a 6-part Behind the Bastards about her, which is one of, if not the longest. I think Robert Evans said it might have been the longest one he'd ever done. It was 24,000 words was the script. It was fucking 6 hours.
That is really
I don't know if Beyonce and Rihanna are quite bastards. I think they're probably okay.
Right. That's
probably.
I mean, that's why they don't seem like they're bending the world to their whim. They just like built up products and music that people love.
I think that's probably true. I think that's probably true. Yeah. There's some of those too. There are. There's people that sell things to people who want to buy them, and that's okay. Should we go to the people? Do we have things to the people?
We do.
We can go to the people. God, my lips are so chapped. I went skiing this weekend in Montana, and we got a foot of fucking powder, and
sick.
It was the greatest. It was so nice. And Tim, I got to ski with Timmy.
Oh, he was there?
Cool. He was there. So he came out and skied with us. And Hannah,
fantastic.
I'm so proud of Hannah. She is in her middle 40s, like I am, has never skied, and in 2 days, the end of the second day, we got her fucking on chairlifts, going down green runs, looking pretty good, and she even said she wanted to continue to learn to ski, which I think would be amazing because I fucking love skiing, and it sucks that I can't do it with her.
Yeah,
and I would happily dial down my skiing to meet her if it meant we could do it together. So I think if we committed to maybe 4 or 5 days of lessons, she'd probably be at a comfortable level.
Yeah, and then you can teach her a little bit also.
Yeah.
After she does pro lessons, gets leveled up, and then you can talk nuanced stuff. Yeah.
That would be a good use of our time. But man, Montana snow, delightful.
Yeah, that's the dry stuff. That's
that smoke.
Yeah.
Deep smoke. Balzac on the
Excellent
Patreon.
Name. I remember that toy.
Love it. Of course, if you want to ask us questions for the show, get the show live, get the show without ads, get the show early, get extra show, all them things. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. You can also just DM Balzac. We'll get you in.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but DM that person.
He's at number 3 at Doge, right?
Big balls.
Right under Big Balls. I told you that fucking kid went to my high school, right?
Yeah.
Fuck.
I've read some funny.
They need to do a Behind the Bastards on Rye Country Day School for fucking sure. For churning them out, dude.
You have to stop telling people you went there.
I ain't ashamed.
You would be after they do a deep dive.
Yeah, man, right? One of my favorite teachers just died a couple weeks ago, actually. It's kind of a bummer. Shout out to Mr. Pike. Balzac says, Volkswagen no longer manufactures some parts for Mark IV and Mark V Golfs. How long should OEM manufacture parts after the build date of the vehicles, and should the law require them to build them for a certain amount of years? I think there is a law that does require manufacturers to support vehicles for a certain number of years, and I think Volkswagen and Audi stop supporting the cars when that law runs out. I hear this about old Audis all the fucking time. The problem with old Audis is you can't get parts. This is the first time I'm hearing about Golfs, but fucking B5 S4s, God help you if you need something from Audi. Yeah. My client's has a beautiful TT, was his first car, and it sat for like 6 years, 7 years, because he left it like at his parents' house or whatever and moved on about his life. And he got it back, and the gas tank had rusted, and there was not a gas tank to be found anywhere in the country. Couldn't find it. And we had to like put out all these feelers and wait months to find a gas tank for this car.
I wonder if Audi has just looked at the math and their cars are just not either as collectible or whatever. Like, I mean, BMW Club is a thing. Porsche Club is a thing.
Sure.
I'm sure there's an Audi Club. But like, it just seems like that market goes lease, buy, shorter term, move on. They want the newer luxury thing. Yeah. And there are people, obviously, who want to drive those cars, but I mean, Volkswagen community is definitely more passionate about mods and driving old stuff
for sure.
Audi, but it's probably just like the cost to them is not worth it.
I think a lot of Audi enthusiasts are not about classic Audis. They're about the newer Audis, even if it's not the newest Audi.
And they got way better. I mean, I would much rather drive a new S3 than we drove those B5 S4s. Like, they're cool, but man, they break and they don't handle that well. Yeah.
1.21 gigawatts. Did you see more Montana tags in Montana or at a Cars and Coffee in LA? You're not wrong, and I will say that it was weird being in a place with all Montana tags. I kept looking around and chuckling. And you know what? Up there apparently there's like very few dealers. So I was at a place called the Yellowstone Club, which is just something else. It's fucking crazy. I was a guest of somebody, and I will never in 100 lifetimes ever be able to afford to go there. But it was something nice of someone to bring me. And but it's all these insanely rich people. But because there's only a couple of car dealers in that general area, everybody drives a Tahoe or a Suburban. I took a picture of the valet lot like in front of this place, and there were like 12 Suburbans just parked next to each. Like, the fucking Chevy dealer in Bozeman must be crushing it.
Yeah, that's all you can get.
Yeah, it's all anybody's got. It's amazing. Dixon Ciderbox says, where am I most looking forward to driving the Manx once it's finished? When will I take delivery? And will I take it to the Manx Club Big Bear Bash? Let's see. I am supposed to take delivery, in theory, in May. And they've told me that once all the parts reach Manx Classic in Costa Mesa and they start to actually assemble it, that I could come down and do some content on the build process. So you guys will be able to see what's going on with the Manx probably once or twice throughout the build. And then, of course, when it's done, it takes about a month for them to actually assemble it once all the parts arrive. Small company. I'm going to take it to Pebble this year, ideally.
Cool. Are you drive it up there? You're going to tow it?
I probably... I'm working on a gig opportunity right now that would basically... provide me with a press car of some kind, because there's a thing I'd have to do that would require some performance driving. And I would probably ship the Manx up there to fuck around with during the week, and then I'd ship it home. I wouldn't be opposed to driving it up there, and I totally would, but if this gig goes, I actually need a fast car. Having two cars at Pebble would be egregious and luxurious and potentially gluttonous. But I'm also trying to nudge Freeman into having them display the Manx at the Quail.
Oh,
be one of those
that's a good
cars.
way to get free transport.
I'd still pay for the transport.
Okay.
But like Provenance, never know. And I think it would be fun to be like, I'm displaying a car to the Quail.
That's very cool.
Just walk up to it and kick it in front of a bunch of rich people.
You won't do that.
No, I won't. And I know about the Manx, the Big Bear Bash, which does seem really fun. It's a big Manx Club thing, and and I'm sure we would go. I don't know when it is. Matt Rantle, what's the best deal you've ever got when buying a used car, or new for that matter?
Best deal?
The E46 wagon I got for All Cars 3 for
$2,000.
Was it two?
1,900 or something?
I think it was $2,000. Or the Previa for 1,800 that I drove 1,000 miles off road with no problems. Those are great fucking deals.
Because that thing was really clean inside too.
The Previa?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Previa could have done a couple 100,000 road miles more.
Yeah.
Absolutely easily.
How was the 46 before we put suspension on? Actually, I guess we never drove it. So,
I mean,
that was a pretty good deal.
It wasn't terrible. I drove it around a little bit.
But you had no check engine lights. Like the thing
No, it was
worked
great.
for $2,000.
Yeah, it didn't rattle or anything.
Yeah.
It was a little smelly.
Whatever.
But it served its purpose.
Yeah.
Max Field, thoughts on Cayenne Hybrid? My wife wants an SUV newer than 2020, and a plug-in hybrid might be nice. I mean, look, my dad has the Cayenne Hybrid. I don't know about the first gen. My dad has a 2023 model year. He loves it, and I think it's great, assuming, you this is a very complex vehicle. Get an extended warranty. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I'd want one out of warranty, but in general, lovely, absolutely lovely. Subaru in the left lane, weekend flat engine fun car dilemma. 07 Cayman base versus used but current gen BRZ for $25,000. I'd probably go BRZ, honestly.
That's a 15-year newer car.
Yeah, and the base Cayman from back then is not very fast and very expensive to maintain relative to a BRZ.
Is that still open diff too? Because it's not an S.
I couldn't tell you, but like the early base cars are not that great.
Yeah, plus a soft top. And was it plastic?
No, Cayman.
Oh, sorry. My brain went Boxster. Yeah, I'd BRZ.
Yeah, I probably would. Okay, Dre from Houston wants to get new tires on the Taycan 4S. It's currently on the OE Contis, and I've got pilots on my 911. Any benefits to changing to the pilots, assuming you mean Pilot Sport 4Ss, on the Taycan? Benefits could be incremental handling improvements and possibly a quieter ride. But those are sticky, and on an electric car, that may negatively impact your range. Mm-hmm. I just ordered for my Taycan, for the new wheels, the Pirelli EV tire that is the OE on the Taycan Turbo S, not the GT, not the super sticky shit. Turbo or Turbo S? I don't know. It's whatever the P0 EV one is. I didn't pay that. I just did Taycan fitments, blah, 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 because I didn't want to go make the range worse, basically. So I'll let you know how they are, but I think, as Camisa found out, a couple years ago on his Golf, sticky tires will fuck your range right up. Mm-hmm. So be careful about that. Okay, hypothetical. You're on a road trip. You need to eat a full meal while driving due to the fact that you're already running late. What's the best thing to get to satiate the hunger but not make a mess of the car?
So we're eating in the car, right?
Eating while driving.
The best thing to get. Oh, I mean, a burrito.
A burrito is
a well-constructed burrito that's wrapped in
Bluey's
good
breakfast
foil.
burrito or one of Bill's breakfast burritos is the perfect move.
Totally.
Second to that,
satay
hot dog,
stick.
like a chicken chicken fingers. You need to have some wipes or some alcohol, hand sand ready. But you can go one hand, straight dunk. I think you're okay there.
Yeah.
A kebab, meat on a stick.
I ate at an A&W on our Kansas road trip, and I haven't eaten there in I don't know, 30 years. And their chicken fingers are like the best protein ratio of chicken fingers, like chicken to breading. Oh. And it's not toothpaste chicken. Like there's actually,
it's real
you can
chicken.
see like the strings of whatever muscle and stuff, I would do that. Yeah.
I've had a pretty good, I know they've gotten big and very commercial, but I've had a pretty good run with Raising Cane's if I'm feeling fingers on the road.
That's true.
Raising Cane's does an all right job.
And the Raising Cane's, the container is good because the glue on the A&W container like melted.
Oh, shit.
And then it leaked chicken juice like all over my lap.
That's no good.
So that's not helping the mess.
You remember the car you garbage question? Have you ever modified your car to be easier to eat in? That was a good one. Kippy and Foley liked that one. Shout out to, did you watch the Route 66 special? It's pretty funny. It's worth your time.
Okay. On
YouTube, it's very funny. It's not just it's a comedy BTS road trip. It's fun. Okay. Hunter Sands is a big boy and travels for work, rents a lot of cars, always goes for an SUV because it's similar size to me. What manufacturer can I rely on to best accommodate someone my size? Do you mean manufacturer or what rental car agency? He says manufacturer.
Manufacturer, but I feel like most cars, of classes are the same basic interior volume.
Yeah.
I mean, my brain went to like Dodge Durango or something like that. Or Challenger.
Wait. He's talking about rental cars still, right? He's not talking about buying one of these cars.
Yeah.
This question means rental cars.
Yeah.
Like it's highly inefficient. Like if you're traveling solo, you probably don't need to do this, nor is it like efficient. But like a Tahoe. A Tahoe is a very comfortable vehicle for a tall, broad, or fat person.
True.
Like if you got to do a bunch of miles in a rental car and someone else is paying for the gas, I know
Explorer also. I remember the Explorer, like the distance from seat to armrest was huge.
You know why that is?
For police officers.
Cops.
Yeah. Exactly.
Cops. Yeah. Or minivans.
Yeah.
Bro, get yourself a fucking Pacifica with low miles or a Sienna. Hell yeah.
But the challenge that this person's running into is, in my experience, most rental agencies can't guarantee manufacturer vehicle.
Right.
They can guarantee class.
Right.
So,
but usually,
if you can walk out and pick.
Yeah,
then
usually, then you go with Hertz or Enterprise, and you walk the aisle, and
True.
you go, yeah, that one, and then you do the smell check, just a little, because you never know. You don't point and go, I'll take that one without fucking a scent check.
I haven't
or
had
an
that problem,
odometer
but I get
check.
it, yeah. If someone smoked
dude.
in it, or if it was a flood car.
Unless I'm in a fucking hurry, I'm looking at 3 vehicles minimum.
Really?
Minimum.
Oh man, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, we got lucky in South Carolina. Remember they gave me that Pacifica with 150 miles on it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was fucking great.
I just want to go.
Oh no. If it's a one dayer, yeah. But if I'm living in this motherfucker for a week, I'm checking like
I just haven't been burned yet, so that's why. I haven't,
really?
Yeah, I haven't gotten a rental car. I'm like, oh my god, it smells terrible in here.
Oh,
other than Panama,
seem to
that's different.
You seem to have forgotten.
Panama's different.
The black mold and lung infection.
But I think you're carrying that trauma too long. That was 10 years ago in a different
that
country.
was not Panama or Hertz's fault. That was my fault, definitely.
No, I'm saying carrying that with you and going, I'm going to have that same experience here as I had in Panama.
Oh, you come on. I guarantee you, leave a fucking comment in the YouTubes if you've had a car that looked fine on the outside and you got in and went, and it was insta-bad.
Add to the comment, was it a black mold smell or like a fart or cigarette smell?
I mean, look, one of those results in a near hospitalization.
Right.
The other ones
skipping.
are merely terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm checking 3 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because why not? What do they care? You got 2 minutes.
No, you can check. I'm going to wait with our camera cases
check.
and I'll let you check and then I'll get in the car.
See, that shit's like 68,000 miles at Enterprise. Like, what the fuck?
That's true. Remember, we rented a yellow Camaro for a TV shoot, and it had 38,000 miles on it. And when I closed the door, when I picked it up, the latch for the convertible top fell off onto the center console.
Yep. Vlad Tataranu. I'm one of these days I'm going to get that right. Jesus Christ. Here's an expensive friend to have. I'm thinking of getting a classic wooden sailing yacht to cruise around Scotland. Oh, to be you. Sounds all right. Mm-hmm. Starting at $6,000 for a good runner that needs a little interior TLC and $4,000 a year for berth and regular maintenance. How ruinous can a cheap boat really be?
Cheap.
I mean, look, it's if you're handy, they're not expensive in terms of like parts.
Okay.
but they're very labor intensive. You're always fixing or sanding or painting or scraping fucking something. I mean, especially if we're talking about a saltwater boat.
Right, the wooden boat. You have to keep lacquering it or whatever to seal it.
Yeah, wooden boats are super expensive to maintain.
That's why I'm shocked. Classic wooden sailing boat for $6,000. But I don't know boat prices. Is that crazy?
No, like you could get a boat that you could, I mean, you wouldn't want to, but like that our friend George, Moto Man George, like a boat like his that he literally lived on for a couple years, $6,000 will get you that boat.
Okay.
Like a cheap boat, people fucking dump boats for nothing once they need something big or, they run out of money or whatever. But if you're handy and are into the idea of working on it all the time, then they can be a fun, rewarding project. It's like a car, but like, dude, the salt, trust me, I lived there. The salt fucking fucks it up. But sailing around Scotland.
Yeah. He says he's young and he has plenty of time on his hands. So.
Dude, with a fucking grab a bottle of Bunnahabhain and a nice coat.
Well, and as George explained to us, like this dude might be able to get a cheap boat, fix it up, and then later sell it for profit.
Totally. Yeah, it sounds like a fun hobby. Billy Jimmy Zox says, what do you typically see photographers charging for photo shoots for the BAT cars and bids auctions and what's included? Trying to get a quote out to a potential customer. We pay at WCCS, we pay our photographers $450 for 200, exactly 200 edited photos. And that's generally about... a half day work for these folks on site. You can, I know if you, literally if you click on like get a photographer from Bring a Trailer, they charge less. I think they charge like $3.99 maybe. The guys I'm hiring are my friends, which are like literally the guys who shoot for the car magazines. Like literally like the guy who shot this Ferrari 430 that we're about to list on Bring a Trailer shot like a major feature in Road and Track like not very long ago. So they're photographers that I've personally vetted. But, $350 to $500 is probably the range depending on what kind of level of details involved. Don't forget, by the way, if you're shooting for BAT or cars and bids, undercarriage. Undercarriage is important. I'm sorry, I'm like so my fucking lips are... my lips didn't get chapped until the doors opened at LAX and it went...
Yeah, the desert hits you.
Fucking,
yeah, totally happens.
Dunzo. Nathan T. Reynolds says it's 2008. And you've recently been promoted to VP at your investment banking job. Is this? I'm guessing this is before. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of 2008. It's not November.
Yeah.
You're in your mid-20s and you want a premium sports sedan that says "I've arrived" but doesn't quite say "I'm compensating." What do you choose? The B7 RS4? Oh, this is basically the Top Gear comparison test. It's sports sedans in '08. So you got the RS4, the E90 M3, the C63, the Lexus ISF.
If I'm mid-20s back then, I still think I'm an oversteering Stig person. So I'm going M3 or C63. I think the more responsible and comfortable purchase is the RS4. That's the more restrained one.
Yeah. If I'm living in Scarsdale,
Where's that?
Scarsdale is one of the places the rich people live in Westchester County.
Okay.
They commute to the city. I live in Scarsdale. I'm commuting to the city on the Henry Hudson Parkway, the West Side Highway, all seasons, right? 4 seasons, all weather. But I want to look great, and I might have a young family or, some friends to carry around. Maybe I want to go skiing in Vermont. I'm RS4 all day. RS4 is the perfect Northeast sports sedan from '08. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one. Wow. Fucking new in the running. I'm not fat, but my waistband uses the NASCAR line at COTA, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's the username. That's the longest one. I think it got cut off at the A.
Yeah. I've been having lower back issues since I have to slump to fit in a C6 Corvette. I'm 6'2". I'm planning on getting a different vehicle for longer trips. I'm looking at super sedans and saw used Panameras for not too much. And then remember the SE hybrid is a partial PHEV, and I'm curious about having hybrid option for in-town trips. For your 30 to 40K, what would be your choice for performance and comfort with a great supportive seat? I would say for most supportive seats, Porsche and Mercedes are probably your best.
And Acura are also a close second.
Yeah.
But it depends on the model and if it has lumbar. But yeah, Porsche and Mercedes are fantastic.
Yeah. Now, used Panameras are depreciated, but the hybrid, like we were just talking about, Cayennes could be an issue with expensive repairs potentially. It's a complicated thing. So extended warranties are your friend with these type of cars. But that's Porsche. But also Mercedes, 30 to 40K gets you a pretty nice, E-Class diesel. Fabulous seats and very efficient, very powerful.
So, and if you're driving 5 hours at a clip, you want that big tank, you got a good range, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Big Ben, Zach's nightmare power steering job reminded me of a time I decided to change the turbo on my Duramax in my driveway.
But he says dealers take the cab off to do this. That is ambitious, dude.
What's the job you decided to do to save money in DIY that ended up being a horrible mistake?
Well, you don't wrench, but have you done this at your house? Have you done things? Because you've started getting like house projects that you've taken on.
I have a wrench. I have a wrenching one. I got those Baja bumpers on my Raptor, my F-150 Raptor, and the instructions were very short. It was like drill these couple of holes and remove this and mount this. Right. It was like 1 or 2 pages, but they don't. The holes you have to drill were in the frame. They're in steel, and so it took like 8 drill bits, 2 drills, and maybe like 6 trips to Home Depot to drill 4 holes.
Yeah, you kept wearing the bits out. Right, I forgot about that.
And then I killed a drill, and then I killed a second drill. And like, eventually I called like a shop. I forget who I called, but I was like, it took 18 hours to put 2 bumpers on, me and Tim. And my back hurt. I'm like broken. And eventually I called. I was like, how much would you? And they would have charged me like, $285.
Yeah, that's when you get that hourly math that sucks. I won't tell a BMW story, but Thad and I replaced the rotors on his old Mini. And one of the rotors, like a bolt was seized. And then we tried to pull it out and we ended up stripping the bolt. And we literally spent one entire day trying to get one rotor off because we had to go to the shop to get like the tap and die kit to reverse thread and like pull this bolt out. Yeah. That was a nightmare.
Christian says, is Porsche Active Ride actually worth $7K in terms of comfort? In my opinion, it is. If you're already buying, like, put it this way, Porsche has a million options, and some of them are stupidly expensive, and and you don't get much for that. Like you get contrast this or some special this that's like a little fucking nothing, and it's $5,000, right? And if people want it, like, go ahead. You can feel Active Ride. Every time you get in the car, it's pretty hard to ignore the fact that Active Ride is making your drive better, whether it's comfort or efficiency or the popping up to make it easier to get in and out of the car, or the way it leans into corners for comfort, or the fact that it can corner perfectly flat. Like, that affects your drive every day. So it's expensive as hell, but in the context of dumbass expensive Porsche options, at least you feel it in the drive, which is very important. We did back-to-back at Panamera launch, and the air suspension is great. I mean, that was the upgrade. It's now the standard. They all get air suspension now, but it's a big, big difference with Active Ride, especially if you either live somewhere with bad roads or you plan on doing dynamic driving. Joey Bag of Donuts, pick an entry-level exotic under $100K. Wait, hold on. Wait. Oh, this one is tough because Joey Bag of Donuts here wants us to buy an entry-level exotic under $100K that will appreciate 50% in 20 years.
Ooh. So
Okay.
New now, or new-ish, I guess, or just anything.
All right, I got one. How about a Ferrari 360 coupe with a stick, but with miles?
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's timeless, and that'll be more expensive.
Or
later.
of
458s are too expensive right now.
No, they're too much. How about a very well cared for Ferrari 348 GTS or GTB? Those are great. And, 80, 90K gets you a good one.
What are spikers today?
More than that. Spikers, the second Spiker went out of business, the cars were fucking worth a buck.
I know we said it last week also, but I think an R8 V8 with a manual will be a classic. It's just, there's still, people aren't paying enough attention to them yet. I don't know why, but that would probably float a little bit.
Yeah. You might be able to...
V8 Vantage? Like a real good one?
You could probably buy the nicest, 1993 Viper anywhere. And for that much, and maybe do that.
Maybe. But I think the Viper's got so much. Well, collectability is not always about quality. The later Vipers were better, but people don't really care.
They're better, but better doesn't mean better.
Yeah. CT5V Blackwing.
Yeah. Shout out to Tony A, dude. One of my favorite people, Tony A, patron, former customer of mine, the former owner of my Acura NSX, will be joining us at the Texas event, the road and track event I'm doing. And Tony A is a boss because Tony A buys a new car for each of these events. And he always finds a depreciated... He's a man of means, but he always finds a fun, depreciated car to do the events in and then makes a big road trip out of it. He came on one of them with the E92 M3 that he traded Vinny his Alpina B8 for a supercharger, his Alpina B7 for a VF supercharger. So he did the supercharged E90 M3, and then for last year's event, he bought a used Panamera Turbo for $28,000 and did it. Car was great, by the way. And then he just bought a 2-year-old CT5 Blackwing for this one. He's like, what do you think of this? I was like, you're in the fucking game. Yeah. So that's a good one. Nathan T. Reynolds, NA2 Acura NSX or a really nice 360 manual?
360. For me.
I probably have to say 360.
Based on sound alone, but also, it's Ferrari. I like the NSX, but I didn't grow up as a kid lusting after owning an NSX one day. Sure.
And, even as an NSX owner, I think I'd probably... if I could do a direct swap of my NSX to a 360 manual that was in similar condition, in a nice color, I'd probably do it.
You want to trade Vin and Natra for his hand-dyed
I said
interior?
Nice. I'd trade him the POW. Oh, shit. By the way, I have an update on the POW. Don't let me forget that because it's hilarious. Yeah, man. If I could do a direct swap, because my NSX is worth a little more than I paid for it. At the time I bought it, the idea that I could get a good manual 360 for that same money was not really. It was more. The NSX has caught up.
That might also be a candidate for the buy at 100 now and sell for 150 in 20 years.
An NSX, yeah. 100K gets you a lot of NSX. It won't get you like an 04 or an 05, but it'll get you another great year. I was just talking to our buddy over there in North Carolina, the young one, about NSXs, and he's in the game.
Nice.
Very excited. Let me sidebar. The POW. Have I talked about the POW having a mystery drain?
Yeah, and this has been ongoing for 6 months? More?
A year.
It's gone to two techs.
It's killed 3 batteries in 2 years. It's gone to 3 different places, okay? And we're talking about a 1-liter economy car with a fucking carburetor. This is a simple car. So, as it turns out, Mad Mike from Pimp My Ride, if you remember him, Mike works at Galpin, and I found this out through David Tracy at the Autopian, that Mad Mike is an electrical genius. I didn't know that, which great. So I got his number and I called him, and I go, I got one I bet you never seen, and boy was I right. It took Mad Mike a a guy that more than one person said was an electrical genius, 30 hours to find what was draining the battery in the POW.
3-0.
3-0. And eventually he did source it to the blinker, that something in the blinker, which the blinker is on the right in a POW, not on the left, it's on the right. Also, that's the headlight control, you twist it. Something in that every 15 minutes would activate and draw 3.5 amps.
Every 15 minutes?
Every 15 minutes.
And there was no pun intended, like there's no indicator on when this would happen, right?
Nothing.
Would the blinker blink or anything?
No, like every once in a while, like every 3 or 4 months, the tail lights would spontaneously turn on, which took us down a rabbit hole of thinking it was like the brake light switch or something like that sticking, but no, never found anything like that. So anyway, they discounted the bill,
But 30 hours.
They discounted the bill, but we're talking about it cost me another 10% of what I paid for the car.
How did they fix it? Like, was it a part that had a problem, or did they have to reroute something?
They were able to get a good condition used blinker from eBay, and they redid the wiring, and the problem went away.
30 hours.
30 hours with like an expert.
You could rebuild the engine in that time. 30 hours. I mean, that's why electrical gremlins. Yeah.
I mean, you know what? It does on one hand make me feel better, because the odds of me or like one of my like handy friends being able to fix it were 0. It wasn't like, oh, you're an idiot because you can't fucking figure this out. Like, I had some pretty smart people looking around and scratching their heads. Like, I'm not glad that it was that expensive, and I'm not. I hope that Mike didn't get too frustrated and want to blow his brains out, But like, I'm glad it wasn't something simple that was. Well, it is simple, but I'm glad it wasn't something that was like, oh, you're an idiot, just like and unplugged something back in, and that was the end of it.
Oh my God, 30 hours.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes, it's insane. She better drive that car.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, it's Hannah. I can't. She can't. If I'm going to keep her in this old car game, she has to trust the car. The car can't leave her stranded. She's out if that happens. So I need these cars to fucking work. I don't care how much it costs. The only reason I can be as stupid as I am with cars, you think I didn't have to ask permission to get the Manx? I fucking did.
Well, I mean, it's really
that was a discussion.
She has a project car, so you're like, now you understand why I want one. She's like, but you gave it to me. Like you gave her the thing that you gave her the loophole.
Yeah. Yeah. And she keeps referring to that car as ours, and I keep referring to it as hers.
That's why one day what I should do is I should sell the M3 and get an old Mustang project, because Sarah likes old Mustangs, and then it's our project,
right? And
then it's not just my problem.
Yeah. Tow Matters' 4th DUI. What is something the general public doesn't understand about automotive journalism, other than driving supercars all day?
It's Tow Mater.
Tow Mater.
Tow Mater.
Tow Mater is 4th. Oh, sorry. For example, I'm a paramedic, and everyone thinks that every call we go on is some Hollywood-level drama with death and destruction. I'm sure that isn't that. Something that people don't understand. I mean, the amount of time doing other shit versus doing actual journalism or driving the intended car. I mean, there's so many times we've talked about 30 hours of travel for 2 or 3 hours of seat time. Right. I once did 36 hours of travel for 6 laps around a racetrack I'd never been on before in the wet.
That's what the Maserati thing was going to be, but they got us some extra time.
Yeah. But like, I just think there's like the difference between the lived reality and the headline. Mm-hmm. I went to Spain to drive the thing versus what the lived experience is of that. It's just not the same thing. But like it's not bad. It's just that's the general public doesn't necessarily understand. And also how much like a lot of people think, even though I say automotive journalism, they go, oh, so the car companies pay you to drive the cars. And I go, no. The car company lends me the car, and then I have to figure out how to pay for it myself. And they're like, what? They actually just think that that's how it works, that it's all an ad. So I suppose you could just do that and like your life would probably be easier. But to like not do that makes your life a little harder. Nice cams. Oh, liked the video I did with Teddy Baldassar. That was the watch guy, and he has a huge channel, and I did a video with him here at Westside and showed some watches, and the video's already done monster numbers, even though it's like 58 minutes long.
Wow.
And he was an absolute lovely, lovely, lovely guy. He was really cool, really fun. We had a great day. Very interesting. We talked about, business content, he's got a retail operation now. And when he told me the numbers, I was just like, oh my God, like fucking the guy's just like crushing. But he was so chill. He was great. And he has an open invite to come hang out and do our show when he's back in town. Beneteau driver, shout out to sailors. Favorite sailing story or experience? I mean, we almost lost the yacht in Thailand.
That's the best story.
Yeah, we've told it before, but long story short, we went to shore to party our fucking faces off in Thailand. There was a windstorm. We were all on drugs, and we're like, yay, windstorm.
Tide went out also.
And then the tide also went out, and our boat came off anchor and went out to sea.
Yep.
And it was a major, major problem, but we somehow figured out how to talk. I think I made it. I don't know how much money I gave that person, but I got some drunk fishermen to drive us out into the middle of nowhere to get our boat.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I used Google Translate to talk to the police.
Yeah.
And that guy didn't give a shit.
That guy
he drew a picture of a boat. Remember that?
Yeah,
I told him a story, and he drew a picture of a boat. And we realized we were fucked.
Yeah. Yep. Alex, hey, watch question. Oh, boy. Holy shit. Here's where we're going to lose everybody. Do you prefer the elegance of the JLC Master Ultra Thin Moon or the complications? Holy shit. I'm sorry. I don't know the answer to your question. I am not an expert in Jaeger-LeCoultre watches. Thin is good. That's all I can say. All right, wait, hang on. We'll do one more, and then we're going to call the show and save the rest for the next thing because I am running low on steam. Okay. Here's a good question. I like this. I like Tim A's. What do you think there?
Yeah.
Tim A says, "What would you want from a mid-engined C8 based Cadillac?" We talked about this last show that there should be a Cadillac C8 like the XLR was. The XLR had a lot of promise, I thought. I thought using North Star instead of a LS motor was personally a mistake, but I still thought the idea was sound.
I agree.
A C8 based Cadillac. What would you want that to look like?
I just want it to look. It would have to look very different. Mm-hmm. I mean, inside and out. I think the interior of the Corvette, while very functional, it matches the outside. There's just too many angles. I'm not a huge fan of the way the C8 looks. It's tough and it looks like a fighter jet, but I just prefer more organic shapes. And I know that's not really their design language right now. So I think the Cadillac would have to go chase, McLaren, Ferrari. I mean, McLaren, Ferrari right now, 296s and 720 and 750 are very like round, organic, smooth, kind of sultry shapes. I think they have to go that way because you need it to stand out from the C8 immediately and clearly. You cannot have anybody look at it and go, "Is that the Corvette or the Cadillac?"
Yeah,
you're fucked if you do that.
Yeah.
And the same with the interior. I would get rid of the center console wall. I would get rid of the abstinence wall, as I call it, and you have to do something totally different in that.
Chastity wall.
You have to change the dash. I mean, I know there's limitations what the engineers and the accountants would let them do, but it just needs to look like a completely different car.
Well, look, the XLR, you could tell because of the wheelbase and things like that there was Corvette under there, but it really did look very different from a C6 Corvette.
Because at the time, the C6 was very round and smooth, and Cadillac went real angular.
Yeah. I actually think the styling has held up well on the XLR. Yeah. Has anyone done a fucking a proper LS swapped? I don't know. Somebody should if they haven't done a proper Z06 or LS something swapped XLR. That could be pretty cool.
Wow, with this backdrop, this looks almost like your R129
It
Mercedes.
does look like an R129 against a white backdrop, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think powertrain-wise, we probably are looking at the ZR1 powertrain, right? Or maybe, or actually I do think maybe the hybrid, it could be E-Ray based, but maybe with small turbos, a twin turbo based kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Blackwing engine, they could go back to the LT4. Maybe put the supercharged engine in there.
That's a good way.
That could be very interesting.
Then it's also related to CT5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or that's what you just said, Blackwing. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
and it's distinct.
Mm-hmm. But I think there's room in the market for that for sure. Yeah, $150,000 probably for a Cadillac C8. It would have to be fast as fuck, and it would have to have an interior that justified, the price. But if it would be, I think, a little more than Z06, less than ZR1 is probably the right place for a car like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But it just has to be just.
Man, would it be rad if that was the manual? If the manual was a cat, because the Blackwings are manuals, they're on board for that.
That's true.
Yeah, right.
Maybe supercharger.
Oh boy, that was a fun one, kids. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our patrons for such good questions. There's what went up today? Our Panamera Turbo S E-Hybrid with the Active Ride went up today. Mm-hmm. Go check that video out on the YouTube channel. And
last week I published the Grand Wagoneer with a red-eye engine in it, so go check that out too. Big noisy school bus thing.
Yeah.
Announcements. Episode 1000 comes up in 13 days.
Yeah, it does. And tomorrow we're going to record episode 999. Should be a good time. Thanks, everybody.